Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 30, Description of Adverse Fruitive Activities. So, we are in the second section where we are reading the journey of the living entity after the death to Yamapuri. So, little frightening chapter, but it's just getting over now. Yeah, last 4 verses. Text 31. एकः प्रपद्यते ध्वान्तं हित्वेदं स्वक्कलेवरं कृशलेतरपाये पाथेयो भूतद्रोहेण यदभृतम्. Translation.
He goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. Purport. When a man earns money by unfair means and maintains his family and himself with that money, the money is enjoyed by many members of the family. But he alone goes to hell. A person who enjoys life by earning money or by envying another's life and who enjoys with family and friends will have to enjoy alone the resultant sinful reactions accrued from such violent and illicit life. For example, if a man secures some money by killing someone and with that money maintains his family, those who enjoy the black money earned by him are also partially responsible and are also sent to hell. But he who is the leader is especially punished. The result of material enjoyment is that one takes with him the sinful reaction only, and not the money. The money he earned is left in this world, and he takes only the reaction. In this world also, if a person acquires some money by murdering someone, the family is not hanged, although its members are sinfully contaminated. But the man who commits the murder and maintains his family is himself hanged as a murderer. The direct offender is more responsible for sinful activities than the indirect enjoyer. The great learned scholar Chanakya Pandita says, therefore, that whatever one has in his possession had better be spent for the cause of Sat, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because one cannot take his possessions with him. They remain here and they will be lost. Either we leave the money or the money leaves us, but we will be separated. The best use of money, as long as it is within our possession, is to spend it to acquire Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
He goes alone to the darkest regions of hell, and money acquired by envying others is the passage of money which he leaves this world. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that If a man earns money by unfair means, then he is contaminated, and the money is enjoyed by him and the family member, but he alone goes to hell. So now we have to see this. Previously, it is said that both family member and he suffers, but here what the thrust is: the person who is doing such unfair means of earning money specifically suffers. So this is the thrust here, right? So this is because of the resultant sinful reactions occurred from such violent and illicit life. And Srila Prabhupada gives example of a man is killing somebody and acquiring money. And it's a harsh example. But there are other examples also, like, even not doing one's best in one's profession is also considered as not very right. Correct. Like sometimes as a devotee, we have a tendency to complete our rounds at japa place, I have done this not many times, but at least few times. That your 4 rounds are remaining and try to chant those 4 rounds in job place. Of course, if you have your own business, your own clinic, then you can do it because you are the boss yourself. Nobody's paying you money for that work. But when we are doing job somewhere, when we are so it is very we have to be very careful that we are sufficiently contributing for the cause for which we are receiving the payment for. Otherwise, there is implication of law of karma. This is very important. Again, let's not stretch it to limits. Like there are many devotees who in a break, lunch break or something like that, they read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 1, 2 verses kind of thing. That is perfectly all right. But generally, this is the idea that, one has to be very careful in one's contribution. If you have to, you can just take a proper break, tell to the boss and take a break and then come out. And then you can just say, sir, I need some personal break. I will compensate for the lost work. And this, so what to speak of then the hardcore corruption that people do, right? And these days corruption has become so rampant and so easy to perform, and those who are corrupt, they enjoy also such a life that sometimes people feel that by being simple and straightforward, what is the use in this life? No, there is. And this is here we can see. So Prabhupada writes here, the result of the material enjoyment is that one takes with him his sinful reactions only. All the money possessions will remain here, but he will go only with the sinful reactions, and he will be suffered for sinful reactions. Specifically, the man who commits the corruption or the unfair means, he specifically suffers. Why? Because Prabhupada says, even in this world, somebody who is committing murder and securing some money, and family is enjoying, and he's also enjoying. Of course, family is also implicated, but this person will be hanged to death, not the family. So here the thrust is that the first direct offender, Prabhupada writes, is more responsible for the sinful activities than the indirect enjoyer. This is very clear. And that's why Chanakya says that till the time we have, let us utilize all our time to do good to others. We should be very genuine in our approach, and how I can do good to others and good to the society, good to everybody and anybody who comes in our vision, in our contact. So that is the general mood of the devotee. Money is very flickering. It is chanchala, and that's why money, materialistic money, is also called as chanchala. Means it just goes from one place to another. So devotee is not after Chanchala, he is after Lord Narayana, and Lakshmi automatically follows Lord Narayana. So best use of money, Prabhupada says, that as long as it is within our possession, we should spend it in Krishna consciousness. Text 32. Daivenāsidam tasya shamalam niraye puman bhunte kutumbaposhasya ritavitta ivaturaha.
Translation. Thus, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kinsmen is put into hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities, like a man who has lost his wealth. Purport. The example set herein is that the sinful person suffers just like a man who has lost his wealth. The human form of body is achieved by the conditional soul after many, many births and is very valuable asset. Instead of utilizing this life to get liberation, if one uses it simply for the purpose of maintaining his so-called family and therefore performs foolish and unauthorized action, he is compared to a man who has lost his wealth and who, upon losing it, laments. When wealth is lost, there is no use lamenting, but as long as there is wealth, one has to utilize it properly and thereby gain eternal profit. It may be argued that when a man leaves his money earned by sinful activities, he also leaves his sinful activities here with his money. But it is specially mentioned herein that by superior arrangement, daiva na saditam, although the man leaves behind him his sinful earned money, he carries the effect of it. When a man steals some money, if he is caught and agrees to return it, he is not freed from the criminal punishment. By the law of the state, even though he returns the money, he has to undergo the punishment. Similarly, the money earned by a criminal process may be left by the man when dying, but by superior arrangement, he carries with him the effect and therefore he has to suffer hellish life. Hare Krishna.
So now here, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality, Daivena Saditam Tasya. So Daiva is there. Karmana Daiva Netrena. So there is arrangement of the Supreme. Under the watchful arrangement of the Supreme, the maintainer of the kinsman is put into the hellish conditions and he suffers for his sinful activities, just like a man who has lost his wealth. See, one thing is to be poor, another thing is to be wealthy. The worst thing is to become wealthy and lose the wealth, right? And again become poor. And that's why in finance there is one rule is that as when you grow your financial kitty, you should be very conservative in your investment approach. You cannot be reckless because you don't become rich twice. That is the general idea. You don't become rich twice. So when you approach, so therefore this example comes here like a man who has lost his wealth. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the example set herein that a sinful person suffers just like a man who has lost his wealth. Now, the one such example comes to mind is father of Jeff Bezos. This founder of Amazon, who is one of the richest person in the world, second, third, whatever it is now, second, I think, Jeff Bezos. His biological father, American life typically. So one lady, I mean, not lady, one girl and boy, they were staying together and they had a relationship and they had a child and they named the child Jeff. And this father, he's biological, this American concept. India, father means father. In America, father means they ask, "Kaunsa father? Biological father or father?" That's what people ask. So what happened is this person, boy, who was in a relationship with the girl who had a child. So then he became little crazy and he said, "Now you go away." And this is very common in America. And that's why Srila Prabhupada comments time to time about this also. And this lady left. And this is also very common. And she left and she married Mr. Bezos, who was another simple person. And later, this boy went on to become the founder of Amazon and the richest person, Jeff Bezos. And his biological father, who drove away, the girlfriend, drove away the child with the girlfriend, is now lamenting for last 45 years. And he's writing letter after letter to his son, who is Jeff Bezos, that I just want to meet you once. And he's not even, he's just reading a very extremely poverty-stricken life, this father. But and he is not granted interview even once. Just imagine how much he must have felt, right? This is the example of lost wealth, and there are many such examples. Founder of Apple. Okay, Apple had three founders. So Steve Jobs, one more and one more. So the third person, he just sold Apple company ka shares for some $10,000. He was in hurry and this and that. And, then Apple went on through its own ups and downs. And now the Apple is like $2 trillion company. And the person who was the founder of Apple Incorporation, okay, Apple, iPhone wala Apple, is now currently selling. He's a stamp vendor selling stamps on the roads of New York City. Okay, next to beggar, that's what you can say. So this is the example of lost wealth. So just imagine the anxiety, the agony, the regret that these people will have. And all the people who are earning money through corruption will go through this kind of anxiety, agony, and regret. And that's why Bhagavatam warns here. Therefore, uh, you know, uh, for the purpose of maintaining the so-called family, why so-called? Why so-called? Because the family is going to be there only for 30, 40, 50 years. But the sinful reaction to maintain this family will carry life after life. And that's why Bhagavatam is a little critical here. Therefore, he performs foolish and unauthorized action, and upon losing it, he laments miserably. I've just given you two examples of how people must be lamenting, right? How people must be lamenting in these two cases. When the wealth is lost, there is no use lamenting. As long as one's wealth is there, one should utilize in the service of the Supreme Lord. And that's what Chanakya also says. As long as we have body, as long as we have ability to chant. So in our devotee circles, we say this: chant while you can. Why chant while you can? Because a time is going to come when the living entity will not be able to chant. Like recently, one devotee he was telling me, he said that we banned our father from visiting temple. I said, "Arey, you banned your father from visiting temple? Why?" He said that, no, he said, my father is almost 80 years old. One day he was just going alone to the temple. Every day he goes to Mangalarti. But he, just was like, something happened to him and he just fell on the staircase. Luckily, there was some other devotee behind him who literally caught him and, there was no injury measure. But now we told him that you are banned to going to temple unless somebody is with you. That is the whole this thing. But the point is, we should go to temple while we can. A time is going to come when the easy things will become very difficult. We should chant while we can. We should take darshan while we can. We should read while we can. So this is what Chanakya Pandit says. And similarly, we should utilize the wealth while we can, when it is under our control. And the Janmashtami is coming tomorrow. Day after tomorrow is Balaram Jayanti, and ISKCON everywhere, all across world. ISKCON has this fundraising drive for Janmashtami. So we should wholeheartedly come forward and contribute to this Janmashtami funds wherever ISKCON temple we are connected with. But this is very, very important, right? So Prabhupada says, when a man steals some money and if he is caught, and if he sometimes, so Prabhupada now addressing another concern. Sometimes people say, yeah, I earned money by sinful means and we leave it here. So karma remains with money. That's what people say. Black money, no? So money is black. So black karma remains with black money. So wherever is the black money, Prabhupada says, no, that is not the case. Don't fool yourself. Karma will come with you. Money will remain here, right? So Prabhupada says here, just like a thief is caught being, somebody is stealing from the bank and he's caught. And somebody is catching him. And then he says, no, it was just a joke. I'm returning. He will be caught. He will be punished. He will be fired from the job. And he will be arrested also. So one should not fool oneself saying that, money I got, but I'm keeping it money. Therefore, I'm free from karma. No, karma will chase. And that's why Prabhupada gives here this another example. Why? Because whole thing is happening by Devena Saditam. There is Karmana Daivanetrena. Daiva is watching over. And this is how, therefore, one has to be very careful of a Daiva aspect. Text 33. केवलेन हि अधर्मेण कुटुम्ब भरणोत्सुकः याति जीवोन्धतां मिश्रं चरमं तमसा padam. Translation.
Therefore, a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black methods certainly goes to the darkest region of hell, which is known as Andhatamishra. Purport. 3 words in this verse are very significant. Kevalena means only by black methods. Adharmena means unrighteous or irreligious. And Kutumba Bharena means family maintenance. Maintaining one's family is certainly the duty of a householder, but one should be eager to earn his livelihood by the prescribed method as stated in the scriptures. In Bhagavad Gita, it is described that the that the Lord has divided the social system into four classifications of caste or varnas according to the quality and work. Apart from Bhagavad Gita, in every society, a man is known according to his quality and work. For example, when a man is constructing wooden furniture, he is called a carpenter, and a man who works with a anvil and iron is called a blacksmith. Similarly, a man who is engaged in medical or engineering fields has a particular duty and designation. All these human activities have been divided by the Supreme Lord into four varnas, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. In Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures, the specific duties of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra are mentioned. One should work honestly according to his qualification. He should not earn his livelihood unfairly by means for which he is not qualified. If a Brahmana who works as a priest so that he may enlighten his followers with the spiritual way of life is not qualified as a priest, then he is cheating the public. One should not earn by such unfair means. The same is applicable to a Kshatriya or to a Vaishya. It is especially mentioned that the means of livelihood of those who are trying to advance in Krishna consciousness must be very fair and uncomplicated. Here it is mentioned that he who earns his livelihood by unfair kevalena is sent to the darkest hellish region. Otherwise, if one maintains his family by prescribed methods and honest means, there is no objection to one's being a family man.
So this is here. A person who is very eager to maintain the family simply by black methods certainly goes to Andhatamishra. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says the three words are very important here. Kevalena, that means only by black methods. Adharmena, irreligious. And Kutumba Bharana means family maintenance. So maintaining one's family is certainly the duty of householder. So this is, this is no negotiation there. This is the duty. That's why we have become householder. This is the duty of the householder to maintain one's family. And this is, but one should be eager to earn the livelihood in a prescribed way. And what is the prescribed way? Prescribed way is recommended in Bhagavad Gita as Varnashram is the prescribed way. Chaturvaranyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. So according to one's activities and qualities, one's inclinations, one's svabhava, one should engage that and earn in a fair ways. This is what is called as, Prabhupada says, somebody is a carpenter, somebody is a furniture maker, somebody is a medical or engineer practitioner, very. So this is according to one's svabhava. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Like a couple of verses back, we have seen this 18.42, 43, 44. These are the verses describing the activities of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. One should work honestly according to his qualification. So here, what the qualification means one's svabhava. Why? Because it is very important thing. Nowadays, there is a huge problem in the society because people are, say somebody is a student, or we can see in our own life, our inclinations are different, our education is different, and our occupation is something else, right? Inclination, that is swabhava, education and occupation, they are all misaligned. Somebody is a singer who wanted to become an engineer, he has become a manager, right? So the inclination is different, occupation is different, and education is different. And that's why, because of all this, there is a great disharmony in one's life, and there is a struggle for success also. But to the degree, very quickly we align all these things, one's education and one's inclination, education, and occupation, right? Three things: inclination, education, and occupation. When these three are in sync with each other, one can very quickly come to success. For example, Sachin Tendulkar, right? Sachin Tendulkar is, the 12th fail, and that is the accolades, that is the greatest thing that we can say about, say up, in a way, because in the 11th standard only he realized that education is not my forte. I am made to be a batsman. He was very clear to be a batsman. All his education later was, before and later, was about batsman. He put in tremendous hard work, and his occupation also was a batsman. He became greatest success. Right. Vis-a-vis to other lives, we keep on struggling because to the degree we come to this realization very late, we will keep on, we will keep on struggling. And therefore, according to qualification means when we work according to one's swabhava, then the work doesn't remain work. Work becomes enjoyment. Like I have one of my friend who is like BTech, MTech in computer science. But at one point of time, he realized that, he is a person who is interested in tourism. He left his very good job and started tourism, right? And now, and he works every day 12, 14 hours a day without, without, I mean, the work, we have to tell him, Baba, take rest, go, we have to make his timetable kind of a thing. Because now the work doesn't become work becomes happiness. Why? Because he's doing according to his swabhava, that is qualification. But then he says that, Prabhuji, if I would have not done, and he has done from very prestigious college. I mean, if I tell you the college, you'll guess him, so don't guess him. That's why I'll not tell the college. But here, and then he said, Prabhuji, I just wasted my, 4 years in engineering, 3 years in MTech, 2 years in MTech, and, 8, 9, 8, 10 years in IT industry and everything. If I would have started my tourism work all these years back, 4 plus 3, 7 plus 9, 16 years back, I would have been multi-crorepati by now. So therefore, Varnashram is so scientific. Varnashram is not something, some utopian idea. Varnashram means inclination, education, and occupation in sync. And as early as possible, if it is in sync, one can attain great heights. Right. Especially this is important for parents because, you know, like, like Bhedia, we just send our children to one particular path. Everyone is doing this, therefore you also do it, beta. And then, the beta Betty struggles for a long time, and then they are like midlife crisis. And and the success also comes after great struggle. I'm speaking a little extra today because we have only one page to cover, and we have 5 more minutes, right? And the chapter is over now. Last one, text 34. अधस्तान्नरलोकस्य यावतीर्यातनादयः क्रमशः समनुक्रम्य पुनर्व्रजकोश्रुचिः. Translation.
Having gone through all the miserable hellish conditions, and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as human being on this earth. Purport: just as a prisoner who has undergone troublesome prison life is set free again, the person who has always engaged in impious and mischievous activities is put into hellish conditions. And when he has undergone different hellish lives, namely those of lower animals like cats, dogs, and hogs, by the gradual process of evolution, he again comes back as a human being. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that even though a person engaged in a practice of the yoga system may not finish perfectly and may fall down for some reason or other, his next life as a human being is guaranteed. It is stated that such a person who has fallen from the path of yoga practice is given a chance in his next life to take birth in a very rich family or in a very pious family. It is interpreted that rich family refers to a big mercantile family because generally people who engage in trades and mercantile business are very rich. One who engaged in the process of self-realization or connecting with the supreme absolute truth but fell short of is allowed to take birth in such a rich family, or he is allowed to take birth in the family of a pious brahmanas. Either way, he is guaranteed to appear in human society in his next life. It can be concluded that if someone is not willing to enter into hellish life, as in Tamishra or Andha Tamishra, then he must stick to the process of Krishna consciousness, which is the first class yoga system. Because even if one is unable to attain complete Krishna consciousness in this life, he is guaranteed at least to take his next birth in a human family. He cannot be sent to a hellish condition. Krishna consciousness is the purest life, and it protects all human beings from gliding down to hell to take birth in a family of dogs or hogs. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the third canto, 13th, 30th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam entitled Description by Lord Kapila of Adverse Fruitive Activities. Hare Krishna.
Having gone through all miserable conditions, then wherever one is situated, from there slowly evolving through the animal life, again back, again he is reborn as a human life on this earth. And that's why Bhagavatam will always talk about Durlabha Manusha Janma, how the Manusha Janma is very, very rare and Durlabha. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, just as a prisoner who has undergone the troublesome prison life is set again, somebody is on Janma Tev, 14 years in prison, and after, then he is sent, and now he is released from the prison. Similarly, such a living entity who is again put back into the evolutionary cycle to the animal life, lives of the trees, plants, aquatic, so on and so forth, and finally coming to again he is born as the human being. So Prabhupada therefore says, therefore one should, when as soon as one becomes a human, one should therefore quickly become Krishna conscious. Why? Because it is only Krishna consciousness, only the spiritual life that will guarantee next human birth. Prapya punya kritam lokan. And Prabhupada says, even if one fails on the path, on the yoga path, still the destination, the next destination is much brighter. Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Bhijayate. And in case there is such a fall that one has to go to animal life, like later we'll see story of Bharat Maharaj. He was, because his yam yam vapismaran bhavam, some another calculation applied on him. He was always in the mood of deer at the time of death. Therefore, he became deer in the next life without going through the hellish life. This is very important point. Without going through the hellish life, he became a deer. Otherwise, for somebody to become deer, he has to go that training, everything that we have seen before. He was born as a deer very quickly, and deer, he was a very ascetic deer. He was made to remember the previous life. He lamented thoroughly. He took the advantage. He became a very, very tapasvi deer. And next, he was born as Jada Bharata. And, he instructed Rahuguna, went back home, back to Godhead. Right. So, therefore, Bhagavad Bhakti is a Shubha Pantaha, very, very auspicious path. And this is how we conclude chapter 30 of Canto 3. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dhanna pranam.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any question, Mataji?
नहीं मीन्स अनम्यूट करते हैं ना लास्ट में 847 पे अनम्यूट किया मुझे 747 पे तो मुझे
Welcome back.
पहले उसके पहले स्लो होता है एकदम तो मैंने कल भी
Right.
रिक्वेस्ट किया था कि मुझे अनम्यूट स्टार्टिंग से रखें ऐसा
And only what happens is many times, when you unmute everybody, many devotees are into some activity, some cooking is going on.
But I'm not doing anything. I listen only.
Is that by default most of the people unmute except those who are reading like that. Right? Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.